Hello, welcome to my channel where I upload videos about stuff and things. Basically, just gonna talk about stuff that I love. So, anyone that loves these same things, you are awesome, dude. Thanks so much. It's making me emotional just thinking about. No, for real though, seriously, if you watch this, I love you. Thanks, dude. Or chick. I call dudes and chicks. Alright, so yeah, I told myself that when I do start this, I'm already gonna act like I have like 100 subs. At least, okay? I got like 100. So, hope everyone's doing great. And, just, you're really great. All 100 of you. Hugs and kisses. Alright, let's get into this. For my first video, I want to talk about 3 of my favorite horror games. I have so many, but this isn't in any particular order, and I imagine that there's going to be at least 97 parts to this series, but we're just going to start with 3, okay? I love horror games. Indie horror games, like all the big ones as well, but I feel like I'm more obsessed with indie horror games, and to start this, I think we need to go back in time to talk about my first few memories of horror games being in my life, okay? So I remember my dad used to play Doom 3, and I would sit behind the computer chair while he played it because I could not take my eyes away, even though I was scared out of my mind, couldn't sleep at night. Mom was yelling at him in the other room, "Stop playing that shit! You're scaring her!" And yet it's me sitting there like, "Dad, keep going. This is great." I also have a Nintendo 64 that I had Doom 64 on, and let me tell you, I couldn't even get past that intro screen where it's like zooming through the letters and all the monsters are just like walking around and they're grunting and making scary sounds and stuff. I would load that up just to watch it and then turn it off because I couldn't even get past that first level. You spawn and like inside this building, and I couldn't even like walk forward. I was so scared. Then we also moved to this game called Unreal. It's a lot like Doom. I remember one time my dad let me play it and I was stuck up on this like shelf thing, and there was a monster that was right below me, and I was just paralyzed crying in fear that I just couldn't get off that thing. And he was like, "Cam, all you gotta do is just walk forward. He's not gonna do anything." We move forward a couple years now. I'm in 4th grade, still loving everything scary, but also being such a wimp. Dude, you have no idea. I used to stay in from recess with my 4th grade boyfriend, and we would read scary stories to tell in the dark. We would sit under the table, turn the little corner lamps off that my teacher had. We'd sit with all of our besties, and we'd read the books. We would point at the pictures, be scared. We would tell our personal ghost stories, and it was so wonderful. That is such a great memory for me. We move forward now to 6th grade, where I got my first iPad, and I would play Eyes the horror game, classic. I'd play Slenderman, and there was this other game at the time. It was called The Occupant, but now it's called Sarkov. It used to be totally different from what it is now, but it's fairly popular on the App Store, I would say. If you look up horror games, it's one of the first handful that come up. It's funny because when I tell you my entire 6th grade class used to sit and watch me play these games, they would sit behind me. I'd be on my iPad 1st gen, freaking fingers burning from that metal back, and everyone would just watch me play all of these random little horror games that I would download. Even my teacher, shout out Miss Brooks, she was obsessed with it as well.
Oh, we're getting a little bit sidetracked, but you'll see why in a second here. Just hold on to your britches, okay?
Yeah, so randomly one day, one of my friends come up to me and she goes, "Have you ever heard of PewDiePie?" I said no. She explained to me that he played games on YouTube, mostly scary games at the time, and I was like, WTF, because I had never even heard of anything like this. I was 12. I had watched Mr. Epic Man, How Animals Eat Their Food, which I cried laughing at, by the way. White Car Ride. I also had to see that against my will, which I'm sure most of us have that same experience. And like an Enderman, like that is the only thing on YouTube I'd ever seen, ever heard of. I had never heard of somebody that would play games on YouTube. And like, what? So that same night, I went home and I looked him up on my iPad, and I watched one of his most recent videos, if not the most recent one that he uploaded, and it was a game called Eerie. And from that night, I am pretty sure I stayed home from school the next day because I was obsessed, to say the least. And Eerie isn't even like, it's not like a spectacular, memorable game or anything like that, but it holds such a special place in my heart because it was the first horror game I had ever watched somebody play like that. From then on, I started writing PewDiePie fanfics, which is on a, that's for a different video. And I watched every single video that he put out, every horror game I watched multiple times. There's still so many of his videos that I can remember word for word because I would watch them so many times. I would watch all the other, gaming YouTubers at the time, anyone that played horror games. I was just so interested in and just loved that kind of content. Basically, that just brings us to present day me. Here I am, making this video, something I've wanted to do for a really long time, and I'm finally able to. So thanks for sticking along, listening to my backstory a little bit. Also, this is going to contain spoilers. If you haven't watched or played any of these games before, there will be spoilers. Drumroll, please. Okay, so I present to you 3 of my favorite horror games, starting now! Throughout this video, and probably throughout the 97 parts that there will be of this series, you're going to see a lot of the same developers because I do have a handful of favorite game developers that just make superb games. For the first game, we have From the Darkness by N4BA. This is a psychological horror game that takes place in an old Soviet abandoned apartment. Just kind of like skimming through the description on Steam, you'll see you're going through this abandoned apartment of your deceased grandfather. You came for like an old family album, and strange things begin to happen. And there is somebody in this apartment, right? And just the atmosphere of this game is so terrifying. The sound design is so good. You're just completely immersed. And this game is dark. Like, it is hard to see things in this game. Even with your brightness turned all the way up, it's really dark, which is fitting for the title. So the monster in this game, quote, is this tall frickin' freak, and it's terrifying because he's huge, like tall. He's just like kind of buff, and if I am like terrified of tall things, tall people, lanky things, so this to me just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like, they did such a good job with making him just look like your worst nightmare. And he reminds me of that one scene from It Follows. It's like the tall man where he's going through the hallway and he's in the door and he can't even fit because he's so tall. Like, that's just pure terror to me. There are a lot of subtle jump scares in this game compared to just like bam in your face scream sound. It's a little different, adding on to what I mentioned earlier about sound in the game. I think that the usage of sound in horror games can sometimes be more effective than the jump scares itself or any visuals that are in the game, because if you have really good sound in your environment, it just keeps you immersed. It sounds like you're there. I don't know if it's 4D audio, if that's what you want to call it, but it's just like, it's right there. So I have like a couple different parts of this game that are my favorite. And the first one is, I'm pretty sure it has to be timed correctly for you to even like catch this jump scare, but there's a part where you're getting these chain cutters from this locked cabinet, and if you turn around at the right time, you get this really cool jump scare. And I remember when I first saw it, I remember how it made me feel. I was not expecting it. I was bite my nails, face right up against the screen, like, oh my god. This second part that I really like, it's another more subtle jump scare, but basically right in the darkness you can see that tall guy is standing there, right? And you're in this room with this TV that's freaking out, and then all of a sudden it just flashes to like the perspective of where he's standing, and the object that you have to pick up next, it's this book, is right there, and you're forced to go pick it up when he's standing there right in the darkness. You can't see much, but that is just such a cool touch. This game also really uses a lot of like claustrophobic elements, and this apartment is just tiny and it's really an awkward area to be in. I also think it's really effective that when the player goes into certain rooms, they feel safe in those rooms versus the others, but you're forced to leave those rooms in order to progress in the game. Lore wise, after going, from the very brief description on Steam, I don't think that big, tall, scary man is your grandfather. I actually think that it's just this like messed up homeless dude that now lives there, and he probably
Killed your people.
the developer actually has this older game from 2020 that's called Wrong Floor, and which is 3 years prior to when From the Darkness came out. But it has that same really scary tall dude in it, and it's basically he's just like living in the basement of this apartment complex. So I think it's kind of trailing from that. All of the, big main gaming YouTubers have played this game, so if you're interested, just look it up if you don't want to play it yourself and would rather watch a playthrough. They have all played this game. Overall, I rate this game a 10 out of 10. It has just stuck with me all these years, and I love it. Alright, next game is Alternate Watch by Tesseron. Analog horror is still super popular right now, but this one just sticks out to me. It's like a fan-made game based off of Mandela Catalog, which is one of my favorite analog horror series of all time. It is so great. Go watch it if you haven't. I have to say, Alex Kister is such a cool YouTuber. I love his content. The idea of like alternates and anomalies and stuff like that is one of the most frightening ideas to me. I love all the games that are based on that kind of stuff, but this one just sticks out to me. Basically, you're just going through these security cameras in a house and you're looking for anomalies and you're reporting them. If you don't report enough of them, then basically you die. It's kind of like they take over or they kill you. You have to last until 6 a.m. Usually it starts a little slow, but it picks up around 3 a.m. This game is especially fun to play in a group setting if you have, people to help you look through the cameras and see if there's any differences. This game gives me anxiety like no other. When you're going through, you don't know if your mind's playing tricks on you or if you're just seeing things. You suddenly just forget what you saw 5 seconds ago, and I love that it just messes with your head. And again, the lore behind this game is just connected to Mandela Catalog. You'd have to watch that to kind of get the idea of what anomalies and alternates are. I'd say my favorite parts about this game are, just how disturbing the intruders are and like the unknown figures. It's just distorted humans, and that's just obviously freaky in itself, and I love that. But by far my favorite thing about this game is the fact that the items in your home can be anomalies. Like, seriously, think about it. If you get up in the middle of the night to go get like a drink of water or something, and there's just 2 fridges in your kitchen, they're identical, they're the exact freaking thing. Like, what the heck? Or like, there's a plant that's always in your room. It like sits in your windowsill. Its name's Max, and like you go to take a shower and it's just duplicated itself and it's in your shower now. Are you kidding me? And like before this game, that is never something that I had thought of, and I think that it just freaks me out that much because I had never connected, an inanimate object to being something so terrifying. It's not that object anymore, it's something else. I give this game an 8 out of 10. It's just rated a little bit lower because after a while, once you are used to the environment, it's, I guess, a little boring when you go through and once you've seen everything, but I'm sure there's going to be updates and, different environments and stuff like that as we go on. I had kind of a hard time picking this last game just because, again, there's going to be so many parts to this. I just couldn't decide which one was going to go in the first part, but I decided on Fears to Fathom Episode 1, Home Alone. Fears to Fathom is such a cool concept. So like basically the entire like game is Fears to Fathom, but there's different episodes. I'm gonna be talking about the first one, obviously, but Rail, or is it Ray the Second? I'm not sure. created this whole thing. The name is just really cool because basically all of these episodes are user submitted stories, and then Ray the second Rail whatever makes episodes based off of their stories. So it's like they're bringing these, people's fears to Fathom. He's bringing it to life. He's creating this episode based on some of the scariest moments of these people's lives. And I completely understand that, the games or even the stories are tinkered with a little bit to make them more scary, but if you just kind of let yourself believe that they're all true and just really let yourself get immersed, then they're so much scarier. So yeah, I mean all of the episodes are superb, super good, and I'm sure I will talk about them in another episode. This first one, Home Alone, it just kind of sticks out to me, and I resonate with it a bit more than the other ones. Basically, you're this kid who's home alone, the mom's away, and it's not a ghost or a boogeyman that's in the house, it's like this dude who at the end is like lurking around your house trying to get in. And I love that they'll have you like do homework and then you eat an entire lasagna. And like pretty much the first few times that we were all home alone was in like middle school or high school. And I tell you what, that is exactly what I would do when I would get home. I'd be like doing homework, eating an entire pizza, like that kind of stuff. It's just too accurate. I love, like, one of my favorite parts of this is when you're able to go downstairs and you peek through the blinds right next to the front door and you can see the guy, like, he's literally standing right outside the door. Like, that moment, when I first saw that, just the panic that ran through my body, it was just, like, that's such a good touch. That's such a good way to do that. And you know what? My other favorite part, dude, I love that this has a happy ending and like everyone's fine, kids is safe, the mom's like, I'm so sorry this happened, the neighbor's like, I'm so sorry this happened to your son or to your kid, whatever. I just like that there's a happy ending. And like, I tell you what, after like sitting through the tension of this game,
I tell you what, boy, I'm about to need me a happy ending at the end of that.
well, that concludes this video, I guess. I'm gonna end it with a picture that I drew of this weird guy in a bubble bath, and I just want to say thanks to the hundreds and thousands of people that watched this video.
Woo, yeah, you rock. You about cool as hell, buddy.
Also, you're so cool for caring, liking, and subscribing. If you also have a passion for this and you care about it, I appreciate that. Thanks so much. And if you want, you could like comment some games that you want me to look at or check out, or maybe what your 3 of your favorite horror games are. I would love to know. But yeah, have a wonderful life, and I will see you very, very soon with another video.